Uh-oh. Not another how I left the alt-right pipeline video. But we can be. And no matter where you fall on the political spectrum, there's a time in your life where you can look back on and say, I can't believe I believed that. I want to get vulnerable. Politics have always interested me. I mean, just in the time of my development, we've experienced 9/11, the Iraq War, the election of the first black president, the housing crisis, the rise of school shootings from rare to the new norm, Trump, COVID, and now whatever this mess is. We all have our reasons of how we come to our conclusions through our lived experience or perspective. In this video, I want to talk to you about my journey, how I went from a young, impressionable boy to the person I am today. My hope in the sharing of my journey is to hopefully connect with others who have gone through the same, or to see and challenge my conclusions with people who see otherwise. So if either of those describe you, make sure to leave a like or dislike on the video, and leave a comment to let me know. Let's get into it. I was born in the border town of El Paso, Texas, to my two parents who got divorced when I was young. At some point, my father, who's a military man, moved from El Paso to Florida to pick up a new job working for the Department of Homeland Security. And after a couple of years, I moved in with him. It was a little bit to ease the stress on my mom, who was a single mom taking care of my three other half-siblings along with me. I say half-siblings, I'm just trying to let you know that they're not my dad's kids. Growing up, spending time between my parents, I saw two different realities. One materially secure, and the other struggling. My father was a self-made man with a disposable income and was in proximity to some real wealth due to his job. And my mom, on the other hand, was a strong, struggling single mother, taking care of three kids, but sometimes having to rely on government programs and housing to get by. Because I spent half of my time with each parent, I saw two different versions of the American experience. That contrast planted a seed in me. Unfortunately, a seed that would take its time to bloom. But me, I was a lonely kid, and that loneliness, I believe, created something that I like to call early onset inner dialogue. I was always observant, but I didn't always understand the things that I was observing. And like all of us, they stayed dormant in my subconscious, waiting for their moment in my development to understand. In the meantime, though, my childhood was highly influenced by my dad, and he was a hardcore conservative, a Tea Party movement doomsday prepper type of conservative. I partially blame some of my anxiety and instinct to catastrophize on the mornings that I would wake up to him counting the beans and rice as well as canned goods. But in the way that I saw him interact with people, though, he's a great man with a good heart. Some of his views, although, I felt like contradicted that. It was as if his media diet and job influenced how he formed his ideologies. More on that later. This view I was forming was hyper-masculine and right-leaning. I was told Obama was bad, the millennials and gays were ruining the country, and don't ask, don't tell was the accepted and wanted status quo. 2016. It was the first year that I can vote, and I was hyped.
Pokemon go to the polls.
I watched all the debates in the primaries and tracked all the caucuses. I was fully bought in. I mean, how could you not be? We had John Kasich, Jeb Bush, Ted Cruz, and Trump. I didn't understand much, but that lack of sense was exciting. And me? I was a Ted Cruz supporter. I know, I have regrets. A couple of months before the election, though, I moved away to college. And I only had a couple of months of rent, so I had to get a job fast. So after a poli-sci class, I went up to my professor and I asked him, how can I get more involved? Because a job in politics started to feel like a good mixture of my interest and getting money. He told me to go to a local party's district meeting, and that's what I did. One night while taking a bath, I was scrolling through Facebook events. I saw a local Young Republicans meeting happening. I jumped out of that bathtub, got in my car, and rushed over blasting my shot from the Hamilton musical. I really thought that I was going to be a Republican world changer. At that meeting, there was a Republican field director, and he let everybody know that he was hiring canvassers. And from that point on, I became a Republican foot soldier, canvassing for a local state rep to get elected, but I was also working with the Marco Rubio and Trump campaign. I was getting $10 an hour, and I really thought that I was fighting the good fight. Turns out I was just a kid with a clipboard getting weaponized for cheap. So the state rep that I was trying to get elected, he got elected, but afterwards, I didn't have a job, so I was back on the search again. I wanted to keep that momentum. I applied for Washington internships. I applied for Turning Point. I even got the job. They just wanted me to move to New Hampshire and I couldn't do that. And what ended up happening was I ended up landing a gig working for that same state rep that I got elected. I was the district administrator. Funny story. On my first day at that job, I got a letter telling me that I had got accepted to the Ted Cruz Washington internship. I of course didn't take it because I just got this position, but like, thank God. My time working for the state representative was actually pretty chill. My duties entailed answering phone calls and emails as well as constituent outreach. But I worked for a state representative. Tell me the last time you called your state representative. It didn't happen often. So between the scarce work and finishing schoolwork, I had a lot of free time on my hand. And that free time, mixed with loneliness, was the perfect environment for indoctrination to creep its way in. I went deep on Ben Shapiro, Charlie Kirk, PragerU, and the libs getting owned by conservatives compilation videos on YouTube. I proudly parroted anti-trans rhetoric, immigrant and racist stereotypes, and all the right-wing talking points. I didn't hate people. I just believed that I knew the truth, and that made you tough and not tender. Simultaneously, though, I witnessed how the sausage was made, if you will. I had to tell constituents that they were out of luck because the system that they were a part of didn't care about their problems. As well, I saw politicians who campaigned as the people's representative totally change face behind closed doors. My boss wasn't like that. But because of that, the contrast between him and his colleagues was glaring. Meanwhile, my mental health tanked. My depression was in full flare. I was angry and lonely and very confused by the source of it. It was a very negative headspace, coped by drinking a lot. In hindsight, I'd say that my inner subconscious surrounding my politics was so disconnected from my true self, and I was freaking out. By the end of this phase, though, my boss wasn't reelected, and I think I was really relieved by that. So I took the next year off to finish school rather than seeking another position in politics. 2020 is gonna be my year. Graduating college, just got into grad school, things are looking up for me. Wuhan, China? Hello? What? February 2020. My grandmother sadly loses her fight with Alzheimer's and dementia. As I'm in the airport on my way to my hometown of El Paso, it's announced that the United States will be put in lockdown. We couldn't even hold the funeral that we were planning. Unbeknownst to me, though, I'd be spending the next 6 months in lockdown in El Paso away from my home in Florida. This time changed me immensely. I reconnected with my roots and my culture. I graduated college on Zoom, but I was lucky enough to have my big Mexican family throw me a drive-by celebration for it. This was a generally awful time for humanity, but I was really grateful for these moments. And during this time of COVID, I observed the ideologues of the right fully embrace anti-intellectualism. It was the effective fuel of an unhealthy skepticism where questioning experts was a badge of honor. The right leaned hard into denial and fear-mongering. The Trump effect was becoming fully understood. Post-COVID, I returned to Florida and real life hit. The political discourse continued to get worse. Not only is the political right getting worse, but the Democrats and liberals offered no change and appeared apathetic to the issues. The understanding of class consciousness hits me, as well as becoming aware to manufactured outrage and the perpetrated focus of a culture war that's only meant to push us farther apart. In an instant, my life's perspectives started to converge. Social programs help good people in need. We could all be in need one day. Hypermasculinity isn't a strength, it's fear wearing a mask. I don't want to be a good man, I want to be a good person. Good people are duped into hating others through nationalism. Individuality makes us forget that we are all a collective humanity. We must overcome simplification and think critically. And in a system determined to dehumanize us, choosing empathy is rebellion. Excuse me. A new person is born and awakened. I'm now trying to challenge the programming that I was raised with. I begin to try and reevaluate my views and try to embrace things through the lens of empathy. And no, I didn't just discover empathy. Rather, I begin to prioritize my views and ideology to try to follow the day-old adage that we were taught since we were kids. The same adage, by the way, that seems to get ignored by the people that are in power as we grew up. And that adage is, treat others how you want to be treated. Simple, I know. But while growing up, it seemed like there was a point where the golden rule would only be applied to a privileged few. Once I began to process the inequalities of the world and tried to understand them, I realized, shouldn't we be trying to fight against inequality in all forms? Isn't that the most intellectually consistent way of being empathetic? Now listen, I'm not a saint. Foremost, I'm a human being that falls short constantly. But when it comes to my worldview, when I apply nuance, critical thinking, and empathy together, and consider people from a different country, for example, a country that may or may not be disliked by my country, and through that combination, see and consider their material reality, we may come to see how these countries may label their definition of oppression and oppressors. And amidst the wealth of the world and existence of billionaires, I have seen that poverty, universal health care, and hunger, if prioritized, can be possible, or at least alleviated. The reality of billionaires and the exploitation they commit haunt me. Whilst we are seemingly in a never-ending economical structure of capitalism that exploits on the fact that we as a people need shelter and food. I'm left now understanding my journey through the alt-right pipeline, worried about the people that are going through what I maybe went through. But in an era where getting trapped in the fog of the vibe and anti-intellectual politics may make you too far gone. But nothing is new under the sun. And as the cycles of our historical path tell us, when a system is producing more and more inequality, people will demand and bring upon a new answer. And this is what we're constantly in the midst of. So I like to self-soothe and tell myself that the badness of all that we experience, the gross separation and polarization will lead us to a new beginning of a revolutionary change. Cope. I know. Hey guys, so that was my journey. It wasn't overnight. It was slow, messy, and pretty personal. So like I said at the beginning, if you connect with my story either by going through a similar story or going through something completely different, please let me know in the comments. I would love to know how similar or different our stories may be. And also, if you liked or disliked my video, make sure to press those buttons, like, share, and subscribe to the channel. I would very much appreciate it. I'm super grateful for all the new subscribers from the last video, and I hope to see you guys along as we continue this journey. Love you guys. Remember, you are all worthy of love, and never forget it. Mwah!